Deadpool 2's out in theaters now. Let's spoil some stuff right here on Screen Junkies News. Hello, I'm Dan Merle, and I am joined for this Deadpool 2 spoiler review by our own JTE.
Deadpool gunshots. That's what he does, right? Or should I do sword also?
Perfect. Both of those.
Yeah,
Perfection.
guns and knives.
In case you didn't know by the 2 spoiler warnings and the
Yeah.
title of this video, this is the spoiler review of Deadpool 2. If you're looking for the regular review with no spoilers, you can check out over on Screen Junkies' main channel the review that Roth, Cornette, and I did of the movie with no spoilers. However, if you're watching this, that means you either A, seen the movie, or B, you just don't give a F about spoilers. So, having said that, that's our blanket spoiler warning. We're going to go down into the nitty-gritty of the movie. JT, I like this movie a lot.
Yeah.
What did you think, just overall, quickly, of the movie?
I think it's a very fun movie, but I think it's a messy fun movie.
Okay.
I feel like there's so much in this movie, it's a little overstuffed. To the point where like I like almost every aspect of it.
Right.
But they move on so quickly from everything I like that I never got enough time with like one thing.
Yeah.
I was like, ooh, I like this jail sequence. Let's stay there. Oh, I like that he's trying to join X-Men. Let's stay there. Oh, no, wait, no, now we got to do X-Force?
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool. I'd like to stay there for a while. Oh, no, wait, now we're going to get rid of X-Force.
Yeah.
And now then there's this Terminator 2 time travel thing. It felt just like a lot going on, and it never really gave time for everything to breathe.
That's actually kind of something that I've been trying to figure out on my own, which is that this movie does a lot of things that in other movies annoy me. The idea of, like you said,
Yeah.
jumping for so many things, jumping
So
from this to
many
this to
things.
this to this. The idea of undoing everything that you did in the
Yeah.
movie at the end of the movie. Like in
Yeah.
other movies, that would really annoy me. And I don't know why. In this movie, it really didn't bother me. I think it might be
Interesting, okay.
just because Deadpool himself is so divorced from
The
genre
but at the same
that
time,
the whole thing seems like a comment on the. I don't know. I don't know why these things didn't bother me.
But this one felt so much more like an X-Men movie than the Deadpool movie, especially in the first half.
Right.
I was like, they're really, I mean, they touch on the X-Men stuff with Colossus in the first one.
Right.
This one, like, he literally joins the team as a trainee. And I was like, wow, this feels much more like an X-Men movie than a Deadpool at first.
I was with you on that until, and I thought that's the way we were going. Like when they're doing the plan to the convoy, I'm like, all right, here comes the big thing. But then when they just wipe out the entire team, that to me was like, that was the shot in the arm that I needed to keep from kind of sinking into my seat a little bit. I was like, oh, okay,
see
that's
it coming.
I knew the high when they kept mentioning the high wind warning. I knew something. I thought maybe one person would get creamed. I didn't realize that when I realized the entire team was going to get completely annihilated. I think that was hilarious.
I kind of saw it coming. Have you seen MacGruber?
I have seen MacGruber.
That it felt like the MacGruber scene when Deadpool's like, "Man, I just love you guys. This is such a great team." I was like, "Oh, they're all gonna die," or at least most of them I figured were gonna die. But at the same time, I enjoyed seeing how each one was going to die,
right?
And the fact it was just silly wind. It was just a little bit of wind caused this like final destination.
That's what would happen.
Yeah, it was like
that's what happens in these movies.
Which I liked. So I saw the joke coming, but I still enjoyed it. And then, spoiler, of course, one of the best cameos. Real quickly, Brad Pitt.
Like 2 frames of Brad Pitt.
Almost too quick, where I almost didn't catch it.
Yeah.
And another cameo earlier was so quick is when the X-Men were in the mansion.
That was maybe the biggest laugh that I had in the movie. This idea of, I love this concept of the fact that the X-Men actively hide when Deadpool shows up.
Doors
just closing the door. Like, again, that's the kind
good.
of thing that this movie can do that other movies can't do. And
Agreed.
I think maybe that's why, if you want to call it cutting it some slack, I guess you could call it cutting it some slack, but it just didn't seem to violate, so many times when a movie has too many things going on, or when they undo things. A lot of people were kind of critical of my thoughts on Infinity War, which is like, I don't see the ending as final as some people, because I know going forward that, some of it might get monkeyed around with. But they completely undo everything at the end of this movie, and some people say like, well, that's hypocritical. Why? And I guess it's just because I don't view this movie in the same genre necessarily. It is a comic book movie
for sure,
but I don't view it the same way as I do other ones, because it's all about intent. It's about intent. It's about what you're trying to do, what you're trying to accomplish, the story you're trying to tell. And I think another reason why I'm not as harsh on some of those other elements is I thought the story they were trying to tell was actually executed really well.
See, when you say that, I'm like, which one?
But I think the key, the heart of the movie, I think, was in the kid. With Julian Dennison, who I thought was great. That for me was the one that actually paid off. I liked his performance. I liked that they actually had some pathos to it, that you understood why this kid was so tortured, that you understood why this kid would grow up to be such this kind of reckless monster.
I'll disagree with you a little bit there, only because it's very glossed over. It's very in your nose. Like he goes to this school or where he's mistreated.
Right.
But I know nothing about that school. I know nothing about the villain who's just this creepy guy in glasses. Like we saw one quick flashback of him being tortured, I believe.
Right.
Like I feel like if that movie was just more about that kid in that school, and then Deadpool coming across it, maybe I would agree. But for some reason, like because it was so quick and there's so much else going on in the movie, it was like, oh, paint by numbers. I know exactly where the story is going to go. I've seen Looper. I kind of get some of the same stuff.
For me, and this is going to sound super pretentious, so I'm just getting ready for it. But for me, this is a movie about heartache and pain and tragedy and how it affects everyone differently, which is that Deadpool has this tragedy visited upon in the beginning.
His wife, girlfriend killed immediately.
And you know his solution is, well, I want to die, and then he can't die, and so the rest of this movie is really at the end. It's still I want to die. I can't live without this person. Cable loses someone very close to him.
Yep.
His whole motivation is to go back and try to fix it. You know, he doesn't want to die. He wants to undo it.
Yep.
And then you have this this abused child, and his motivation to his pain is, I'm going to wipe out. I'm going to get revenge. And in a weird way, like every one of those beats, as far as emotional beats, was paid off and done well enough that I agree this is not a perfect movie, but I think that might be why some of these other things, because they did so well with these other elements, some of the elements that maybe were a little overstuffed didn't bother me as much, because there is a heart to there's more heart to this movie than even this movie, I think, would want to admit.
Interesting. And I will be honest, I was a little surprised with how much heart, but the mechanic they used for it didn't always work for me. The way he died and went, like, he's underwater, and then he's like in this visible force field, and there's Vanessa, and you can't quite get to her. For some reason, like, I don't know, maybe just the way they visualized it, it didn't always work for me. It was like, so what? He's trying to break this wall down to get to her, and then it has to be through the kid, and like, how does she know who the kid is? I don't know. There's little things that just bother me that all together, I see the ingredients there to make a good meal. They just didn't quite make a good meal for me. But again, that comes to taste. Some people might not have that problem. Again, I had a lot of fun with the movie though, and it's weird because as I'm sitting there, I'm laughing. Although I will say this, some of these jokes are a product of its time. And 5 years from now, I don't know how many of these jokes are going to land.
No, it is very much a product of its time. And and I said this in the regular review, like this is much like the first one. This is what I thought coming out of the first Deadpool movie, which I really, really enjoyed. It works on volume as far as the jokes go. They're throwing one out and there are just as many that hit as that don't hit. It's just that for me, the ones that did hit so well. The baby legs I thought was hilarious.
Yeah,
the
Baby Legs
X-Men
was funny.
cameo I thought was hilarious. The Juggernaut stuff didn't exactly work for me.
Okay.
It's kind of cool, but I got some chuckles out of it. But was it worth that whole circuitous route? I'm not entirely sure. I don't know. It's just that I guess overall, my whole impression of it is it hit or miss? I'll agree with you that it's hit or miss. It's just the things that hit so well for me that I didn't mind the misses as much.
Here's one thing I noticed watching the first movie. He's spoofing the superhero genre.
Right.
Like superhero landing, which applies to so many superhero movies. Whereas this one, those jokes in this one are more right on cue to a certain movie.
Yeah.
Martha, Thanos, like they're literally callbacks to other comic books that have just come out or in the last year or two. Whereas I felt like the first one was more just talking about the genre.
Right.
Whereas this one is like so on point that some of those jokes aren't going to work as well 10 years from now.
It went from making fun of the superhero genre in a very categorical sense to picking specific things
movies
to make fun of.
The opening is a whole Logan joke, which is really funny, and I love it because
I thought it was the perfect way to open the movie. I loved that.
Totally agree, but like it just seems so much more on point, and because of that, I just feel like some of these jokes aren't going to be as fresh 10 years from now. Whereas like the superhero landing, well, that will work for me every time because every superhero movie has a superhero landing.
I mean, and that's the problem with every comedy is it going to stand the test of time and is it not? Airplane, I think, is a classic comedy that has some jokes that fall flat now because that movie was made in 1980 and we've lost all cultural context. But there's other things that are just always going to be funny because people are idiots in that movie, and it's always funny to watch idiots be idiots.
True. So if we're talking spoilers, like what's the biggest surprise out of this movie? Would you say it would be Juggernaut? Because they definitely tease him the most throughout the movie.
I mean, they tease him the most, and I think that there had been rumors and speculation that maybe Juggernaut's in it. And like I said, like if if he had had more to do with the movie, then maybe. But I think he was ultimately he was a bad guy to fight, but I think he was pretty inconsequential to the movie. So I think the way that they kind of set up, I did think this was set up for X-Force in a way that I didn't expect. I thought that building that team would be the setup for X-Force, and I liked that the way that they kind of hid behind that in the sense of we're going to assemble the team, which turned out to be a joke that I love the payoff for. But during the movie, they're actually doing that. They're doing the work with these characters to actually assemble the team.
The X-Force team,
So I think that was kind of the biggest surprise for me, was that it's a lead into X-Force, but it did it in such a way that it didn't feel forced to me.
Interesting.
By kind of hiding behind the cliche way of building the team, they built the team in a more natural way.
I guess when I was watching, I felt like I could have used, if you just gave me a buddy cop type movie with just Deadpool and Cable, and that was the whole movie, I would have loved it. Yeah. If you gave me just an X-Force movie, I think I would have loved it. The fact that they got every one of these in one movie, I feel like nothing really gets its time to breathe. But I do want to talk about Cable because I love Josh Brolin.
Josh Brolin, I thought was great.
So
Cable,
good.
I think, had a lot of the plot on his shoulders. So I don't know if his characterization was as deep as it could have been, but I like Josh Brolin as a character.
I'm sure you read this. So the Terminator 2 sequence where he comes into nowadays, there's two people on a truck. One is Alan Tudyk.
Alan Tudyk, which I thought watching the movie, I was like, is that Alan Tudyk?
But do you know who the other person was?
No.
I didn't either until I read it this morning. It was Matt Damon in prosthetics and makeup.
No.
I swear, I believe it's Slash Film. They had a whole article the one cameo you missed that you didn't know was Matt Damon.
I need to go fact check this.
This is what I read this morning, and I was shocked because I was like, I had no idea that.
If it is Matt Damon, that's just his thing now. It's just popping up in movies when you don't
Thor
expect
Ragnarok,
him. Thor Ragnarok,
Deadpool.
This one, Finding Forrester.
At least this one he wasn't recognizable.
Yeah,
Euro Trip.
Well, if that was Matt Damon, that fooled me.
It fooled me.
I'm gonna have to
definitely.
go fact check that because I have no idea if that's true.
Fact check it right now on Google after you watch this video.
Yeah.
The other thing I would say is. The only thing I'm trying to think of other things that surprised me that I was like, oh, that's spoilerific. I mean, again, I saw the X-Force death coming, but it was still funny to me.
Yeah.
I do agree that half baby body was really funny.
It was funny.
I thought it was funny at first, and it really landed when he got up.
When he got up and you see
the
him
music's
on these
really
baby
dramatic.
legs. Yeah.
Now it's just I was like, okay, this is hysterical. It went from funny to hysterical.
Well, and there's little things like what I didn't realize, which is that Mara pointed this out to me because we saw it together, and then she went back and watched. The first movie, which is that in the first movie he makes this joke about I've got 160 kilos of cocaine and the cure to blindness. And then in this movie you open it up and underneath the cocaine is a box that says the cure to blindness. Now watching the movie for me, I just thought it was a funny joke that the cure for blindness was underneath, but then I had even forgotten that was a callback to the original
Our
movie.
own Lon Harris is the one that reminded me that was a callback because I remember seeing that too. Thought it was funny, and Lon's like, "That's in the first movie," and I was like, "Oh, really?"
Yeah.
Now it's way funnier. I want to talk a little bit about the after credit scene.
Sure.
Because you're saying,
which I loved.
Here's the thing: when I saw it, I almost thought of it as like a fun little short that didn't have to do the rest of the movie. So are you telling me he went back and saved his girlfriend?
Yeah, I
so
think he
she
did.
will be in the third Deadpool if there's one.
I think so. Yeah.
To me, I guess this is the one movie you could get away doing that.
Yeah,
because it is weird.
I'm not invested in the overall, as far as X-Force, obviously there's going to be an overarching story.
Of course.
But as far as the Deadpool franchise, I guess that's probably, when I say about intention, I don't think the intention for this franchise has ever been, we're going to create this overarching mythology. True. It's that he is this character that exists outside of time and reality. And it made sense to me that any other movie would have been oh, you just undid everything. But if Deadpool has time travel, then of course he's going to go back and save his girlfriend. Because why wouldn't you?
Does that undercut the drama a little bit, though, do you think, when you watch it on a second view?
Maybe on a second view in the sense that, you don't know that you know that she's not permanently led. But I don't think it undercuts the drama in the sense that it informs you of how deeply he cares for her. You realize how important that she is to him. So I think that in a weird way, informs their relationship going forward.
I'll be honest. When she died in the very beginning, I was like, ugh, really? Yeah. I just hate when you spend a whole movie with somebody.
And then they immediately
Alien 3.
Yeah.
I don't want to see Newt and Michael Biehn die in the first 10 seconds of the movie. So when she died right in the beginning, I was like, oh, man, really? You're going to do this? But again, I like how they kept using her throughout the movie.
It deepens their love story in a weird way.
It does. But at the same time, I was excited to see how he's going to keep the relationship going. Then I was like, okay, you just need Deadpool to be Deadpool, so you got to get rid of her. But apparently she's not dead. So we'll see in the next one.
We also now I don't know if the original Deadpool being dead is canonical now.
Yeah,
We'll
that's a
see.
good
I think
point.
again that's a funny joke, but again, it doesn't bother me because people are like, well, in the X-Men canon, if you kill the original
Yeah.
Deadpool, then Wolverine never would have gotten in the fight and never would have. It's like I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
because this doesn't exist on the same plane as these
Yeah.
other movies.
I
It's
did
just
like-
a really funny joke that he's going to go back and shoot Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, I did like that Ryan Reynolds. He's like the Green Lantern script.
Yeah, and
He's
then-
like, this is our ticket.
Yeah.
Boom. So they got a big laugh in my audience.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a weird movie because we're talking spoilers, but it's not like anything that, because the movie kind of retcons itself at the end.
Right.
There's not too much you can really spoil. I will say this, like, I really like Cable, and I would love to see him. Halfway through the movie, I said, I want to see Cable in the X-Men movie. Like, I want to see this character kind of taken out of this jokey
Right.
universe and put into like a real X-Men film, because I think he'd be awesome.
Yeah.
So I'm hoping for that.
Yeah, that's going to be intriguing for me to watch going forward. Is I love how this franchise exists kind of out of the timeline.
Yeah.
But the way that they're structuring it now,
Yeah,
it's
'cause-
going to have to start integrating into it, which I'm not really sure how that's going to work if you keep Deadpool around. But that's for another day and another review.
X-Force will be directed by Drew Goddard, I believe. I
Yeah,
believe
and
he's
Deadpool's
attached.
going to be in it.
Yeah, but he's not going to be the main character.
Right, so
but
that's-
he's going to be kind of a co-lead probably with. James
That's going to
Brolin.
be. I don't know how
Yeah.
they're going to pull that off.
future
this
is,
idea of integrating it now into a more
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
traditional mythology. Because even the X-Men, I think it's funny that they're in this movie, but I'm not like, why is it the new class X-Men if it's in the current day? Shouldn't it? Like, I'm not worried about that because
Yeah.
again, this is a different movie to
He
me. but
references Patrick Stewart in the movie, like
Right.
It's one of those movies where you get away with it.
I don't know how they're going to integrate this into a more traditional format, but that's for another day.
Another day, another video.
I like this. We both have our
Yeah.
own thoughts. That's what's great
But
about
at the end of
movies.
the day, I still had a good time.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, I think when I rewatched the first film, it's a very simple story.
Yeah.
It's a revenge/love story.
Yeah.
I can't say that about this movie. I can't say it's just a simple this, because
Right.
there's going to be 4 or 5 different things. And I think, just because of that, it did feel like a mess to me. But overall, it's a fun movie.
Yeah.
I recommend you all go see it and have a good time. You're going to have a lot of laughs and be entertained. It's got great action sequences. It's a good time. It's just a little bit messy in the story department for me.
Those are our thoughts on Deadpool 2. What did you think? Did it measure up to the first one? Was it a letdown for you? Did you mind all the stuff in it? Do you think it exists inside the timeline? Did the inconsistencies bother you? So many things to talk about this movie. Let us know in the comments below. You can tweet both of us. I'm at Merle Dan on Twitter.
At JTE Movie Thinks.
On Twitter, and of course at SJ News on Twitter, where you can follow everything that we're up to here, including SJU every day. Reviews of all the movies. We've got a big solo coming out next week. I'm sure we'll all
can't wait
have
to
some
talk
thoughts
about
on
that
that.
one.
That's going to be a fun one to talk
Yeah.
about, or not. We'll see. So much stuff going on. Thanks for watching our spoiler review of Deadpool 2. We'll see you next time.